Look, if you really want to improve at chess, there are certain openings that you need to avoid playing. Or how can I put this? Stop playing hope chess, where you play a certain gambit in the hope that your opponent might blunder, and then you do that, No. Stop it. Don't do that. Just stop. Which is what this video is all about, you guys. So this is one instructional video that you wouldn't love to skip. The first useless gambit that people play, especially in longer time controls, is the England Gambit. So this is where white begins with pawn to d4 and then you play pawn to e5. Well, I may have covered this defense in one of my previous videos, but one thing I can recall very well is I never at any point called it the best defense or the best solution or whatever. If I did, sorry guys, I lied. Just stop it. Maybe this works in bullet, but this is not chess. Here you hope that your opponent will take on e5 and then you go knight c6 attacking the pawn, so that if they play knight f3 you go queen e7 attacking the pawn twice, and then again you hope that they play bishop f4, you go queen b4 check, attacking three of white's pieces, the pawn, the bishop and the king, hoping that white would blunder maybe with knight d2 blocking the check or knight c3 so that you can win the free bishop. Guys, no, stop it, just stop. This is not how chess works. White can just bring back the bishop here. Even if you take the b2 pawn, which is the top played move by the way in this position. Position here is about plus 3.0 in favor of white. And do you know what that means? White has close to 0 chances of losing, in case you didn't know. So again, you hope that your opponent plays bishop c3 in an effort to protect his rook on a1, so that now you can play bishop b4, pinning this bishop to the king, and that they reinforce with queen d2, you take the bishop and then they take, so that you can mate in one. No. This is not how chess works in reality, you guys. If you really want to improve your chess, avoid these kinds of gambits. Maybe they can work in less time controls, bullet chess or hyper bullet chess, but not in blitz or rapid. I don't know. Just stop it. Instead of playing bishop c3, on move 6, white can play a more matured move here, knight to c3, and everything is solved. So your hope chess ends right here. You can try knight b4 in an effort to take the c2 pawn, but nobody's going to allow you do that. Knight d4 is coming, and if you play pawn to c5 attacking the knight, hoping that if the knight moves away and then you take on c2 with check, well, there's this rook b1, an in-between move attacking your queen, and after queen a3, they might play knight db5. You put your queen to safety, and here comes a3 attacking your knight. Knight c6, then white plays knight d5, a discovery on your queen, plus intending to play any of these knights to c7 and winning your rook on a8. This is just how bad your England Gambit can turn out to be. So, in my opinion, is the England Gambit a good option for beginners, intermediate level players, or even advanced players? I don't think so. Simply because chess is not checkers, you guys. Don't play chess like this. Stop it. So what do I recommend? Well, if you're really a gambit person like me, maybe try to play something like the Budapest Gambit. At least it makes sense. Let me show you. So white begins with pawn to d4. Instead of e5, just simply go knight f6. They play c4. Indian defense, normal variation. Instead of playing pawn to e6 or pawn to b6, which are normal responses from here, this is when you can play pawn to e5. This is called the Budapest Gambit, and I have some videos on this gambit, I think, one of which has popped up in the card above. They'll take your pawn on e5. That's when you attack white's pawn on e5 with your knight g4. If they defend that pawn, you just continue with your development, knight c6. So you see, you are developing your pieces in a way of attacking, which is very good. So this is not dubious. They'll play bishop a4, double defending their e5 pawn, because you were attacking it with two of your minor pieces. And here you have two options. You can play bishop b4 or bishop c5. I like bishop c5, but let me just show you the beauty of bishop b4 check. White may play something like knight d2 here. By the way, which is the top played move according to the Lichess database, knight b2 covering the check. And trust me, position is about 0.5 here, which is more of an equal game. So after knight b2, you just simply go queen e7. The right continuation for white here is pawn to e3. Otherwise, if they play something like pawn to a3, you may even be lucky winning in this style here after they take your free bishop thinking it was free. That's when you go knight d3, smoothed mate. I mean, to me, this makes more sense as compared to the England Gambit. You won't see Magnus Carlsen or any advanced player wasting their time with the England Gambit. That's a dubious opening. I don't think you even see Hikaru doing that. Yeah, maybe just for fun, but anyways. Well, instead of playing bishop b4, where white plays knight bd2, you can also try to put your bishop on c5. This is also a good option. I like this. If they play pawn to e3, I remember covering this, by the way, in the video that has popped up in the card above. You better watch that. Well, here you just go pawn to f6. What most people play here is they take this pawn, and that's when you take back with your queen, eyeballing the weak b2 pawn. And so the right continuation here is queen d2, after which you just play pawn to d6 and start considering castling short. Life is good. But what you will see most of your opponents playing here is knight c3, simply covering the b2 pawn, and this is where you can surprise most of your opponents with the move knight takes f2, which forks white's queen and the rook. Why do I like this? Even though it is not objectively the best line to play, well, at least it's not obvious. It's not more obvious. Like, it's something that may take time for your opponent to figure out what you are up to. Knight takes f2 is an hidden move which is not easy to see at all. If king takes, you take the poor bishop. The pawn cannot take your queen. And I mean, if you watched that video which is already in the card above, you already know the continuation from here. If knight d5, you simply play queen h6. Knight takes, check, you go king d8, attacking the knight. If the knight takes your rook, now there is an unavoidable mate in 8 here. You simply take on e3 with check. If king g3, you give a check. There is absolutely nothing that white can do to stop that mate in 8 here. Knight b4 is simply checkmate. So instead of playing the England Gambit, try playing the Budapest, even in rapid games. I mean, you may even consider playing this in classical matches, longer time control games. That is if you just want to be aggressive and play in a Gambit style. So having said this, if you really want to take your chess seriously, go to my website www.casperchess.com. There you will find my courses which you can purchase at very affordable prices. And also be sure to sign up for my free masterclass and get yourself one free mini course. The link is in the description down below. Let's look at another useless gambit to avoid. The Blackburn Gambit. Stop it. Stop it. Don't play the Blackburn. Just don't. So white plays pawn to e4, and then you go e5, knight f3, you play knight c6, they go bishop c4 the Italian, and instead of you developing normally with bishop c5 or knight f6, what do? Knight d4. Come on. Hoping that white would take a free pawn on e5 so that you can now play queen g5, attacking the knight and the pawn on g2, and once again hoping that they take on f7 with their knight, double attacking your queen and the rook, so that you can now go queen takes g2, attacking the rook on h1, and after they rescue their rook, then you take the pawn on e4, so that you can surprise them with a smoothed mate again. No, you guys, count me out of this rubbish. You won't see any advanced player losing in this manner. Yeah, you might see some on Lichess. Maybe they were playing that much while talking to their girlfriends, drinking, I don't know. But when it comes to serious chess, you guys, don't play hop chess. It doesn't work. I mean, all that white needs to do here is just to take the knight on d4, and after you take back, this is only good for white. Position is about plus 1.3 in favor of white here. You can try to go d6. There's just nothing good for you here. Nothing. Just don't play these gambits. So instead of the Blackburn Gambit, what do I recommend? Well, if you want to play something that looks like the Blackburn Gambit, maybe in your rapid match or blitz, try to play the Traxler counter gambit, which goes like this. e4, e5, then white plays knight f3, you go knight c6, bishop c4, then you go knight f6, which is the two knights defense. My favorite defense, by the way. I have a very beautiful video which you guys need to watch on this defense. The link is in the card above. I think the video has just popped up. You can check it out later. After playing knight f6, you may see white playing knight g5. Now, instead of going pawn to d5 here, this is where you can sacrifice your f7 pawn completely by playing bishop c5. Oh, Casper, this is a dubious gambit as well. I mean, at least super grandmasters have played this. Anatoly Karpov, Vishy Anand. It's just something to consider also. The idea is if they take on f7 with their knight, now we have bishop takes f7. Sacrificing our bishop. The best they can do is not to take. It's to go king f1. But if they take the bishop, well, we have knight takes on e4, and that's check. They better not play king e3, otherwise queen h4 is coming and their king will be very much exposed. So what most people like doing here is playing king g1. Well, I covered some of these lines in the video which is already in the card above, but let me just make a point here. You still go queen h4. Queen h4 intends to mate on f2 next. So white plays pawn to g3 here. Guess what? That's when you can take on g3. At worst, you are eyeballing this undefended bishop on c4. So if they take, you can take this bishop, but even better is to take the pawn because this is check. I mean, king f1 is forced. You always have an option to take this bishop on c4 with something like queen f4 check and then you win the light squared bishop, but that's not the point here. We simply want to play d5, attacking this bishop or simply cutting the communication between this bishop and the knight. So now you see them taking the rook on h8. This knight will never come out because now we go bishop h3 check. If they play king e2, we have bishop g4, which wins the queen on d1. So they better play rook takes h3, after which we take, and after something like king e1, we have queen h1 check. If king f2, the queen is dead. If king e2, we have all sorts of moves such as knight d4. I mean, we can even go queen g2 check here. But if they play bishop f1, a logical move, there's a mate in 4 here. After queen h4 check, then king e2, we go knight d4 check, then king d3, queen g3 check, and now checkmate is unavoidable. So I consider this to be more matured than the Blackburn Gambit. I mean, even if white doesn't take with the knight, let's say if they take with their bishop right here instead of the knight, that's not much of a stretch because we can always put our king on e7, planning to play h6 next, harassing this knight and winning the bishop. So they better play bishop c4. And that's when we play rook f8, indirectly eyeballing the weak f2 pawn. And after something like castle shot, we go h6, chasing this knight away. And after king f3, this is all what they play, by the way. You go knight takes e4. Pawn to d3, attacking your knight. You go d5, attacking the bishop. You attack me, I attack you. D takes e4, you take the bishop. If there is someone doing better in this position, it is black. Stockfish says position is about negative 0.3 in favor of black because of all these open lines, and look at our pawns which are advanced. There's absolutely nothing that white can do here. And so if we go back to the starting position, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, knight f6, knight g5, and then we go bishop c5, sacrificing our pawn on f7. I mean, again, if knight takes, we simply take on f2 with check. Even if white doesn't take our bishop, let's say they go king f1, position is about equal here according to Stockfish, because we have queen e7, letting them take that free rook, and now we go pawn to d5, paving way for the light squared bishop, and also attacking white's light squared bishop. So they have to play something like e takes d5, the top played move, and now we go knight d4, just escorting all our pieces in front. If they get tired of waiting and take out dark squared bishop, now comes knight g4 check. They like playing king g1. Well, here we can just go queen c5, indirectly eyeballing the king and also threatening to win the light squared bishop. If pawn to d3, saving the bishop, well, there's a mate in 2 after knight e2 check, king f1 is forced, and then queen f2 checkmate. So there are some gambits that you need to avoid if you really want to become a good player. You know, gambits to some of us are like breakfast. A gambit should not be your main meal. You can never improve like that. You will never improve. Maybe the best you can do with gambits is to use them in your bullet matches and hyper bullet matches just for breakfast. At best, just stop playing these dubious gambits. You will lose a lot of games. Anyways, having said this, if you really want to take your chess seriously, go to my website www.casperchess.com. There you will find my courses which you can purchase at very affordable prices. And also be sure to sign up for my free masterclass and get yourself one free mini course. The link is in the description down below. And thank you for watching this video. Until next time.